Barron. Rakita Law, I don't know who this is, apparently said that because of your live stream today, you have 23,000 people who could file malpractice claim against you. Thought that was hilarious.
It's interesting from a disbarred lawyer, but okay.
I know.
Yes. So, Octavia, you're not really shy about saying you giving your opinion about the files that dropped whenever they did yesterday or whenever.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm sure Baron hasn't heard your perspective, and keep in mind he may not be able to comment on it because of I guess what is it, 804 or something that I just learned about today. Some
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want me to sort of repeat what I was talking about this morning?
Yeah,
Is
well,
that what I'm gathering?
that would be good too
Sure.
because there's a lot of people in here that haven't heard of you either, and
Okay.
yeah,
Pretty
Yeah,
big stage.
so yeah, okay, great. Well, I do not first I'll state that legal writing, particularly when you're in a trial phase, it's an art as it is much a science, and so you have to really pay careful attention to your structure, how you are structuring it, how you're writing it, how you're framing your arguments. Because you always have to be writing it from the perspective of how is this going to be read? How is this going to be interpreted? And based on how it was structured, how it was written, and how it is being interpreted, I would not have done it like that. And that's what I was saying this morning. When you first read it, I was telling people this morning, you want your strongest argument to be first. And I really feel like they jumped over that and spent 27 plus pages on their arguing in the alternative, the enhancements, when their strongest arguments really was knocking down these elements and these claims. They only stated that they didn't prove the elements because of hearsay, finished that, I think it was 2/3 of a page. And then that was on page 2, and then the rest of it was here's why these enhancements don't apply. And even in the way that they phrase that, because of the way that they wrote it, it appears to adopt a lot of the state's theories. And this is why people were running with this. You saw it on Fox News, you saw Andrew Colvett and all of these TPUSA people, Gary from Paramount Tactical, they're all stating, like, look what they're doing, look what he said, because that was their arguing in the alternative. However, what they could have done, which I think they didn't do well, was the state's theory is this. The state is positing that the video shows Tyler Robinson. The state is purporting this. They didn't do that. They just said the video appears to show Tyler Robinson. So when people are reading that, they're taking that, they're running with that. And so I don't think that it was presented well or clear. And those are one of the tenets of legal writing. You have to be very clear. Your writing also is part of the strategy. You can't just assume that somebody's going to understand what you mean because it's completely understandable why it was taken the wrong way because it was written not well. It could have been done a lot differently. They could have hammered on some more significant points instead of spending 27 pages on the enhancements. I would have liked to see maybe 5 pages on why the state didn't establish the identity, why they didn't establish DNA, why they only had him associated with items, but didn't actually prove that those items were used in the commission of the crime, like the screwdriver, like the rifle. They didn't do that. They just said, oh, hearsay, that's why they didn't establish it. Don't bind him over any of the charges. And then let's start, subheading number 1. Here's why the enhancements. And they spent several pages, which I thought was a waste of page space, going over the out of jurisdiction cases that the prosecution cited. As I stated earlier, when you're in a jurisdiction, you want to cite case law from your jurisdiction because that is what is authoritative. Instead, the prosecution, I was very critical of them as well. They cited case law from Pennsylvania, Florida, Arizona. I think there was an Alabama case thrown in there. And I don't know why the defense took several pages going over the details of those out of state cases to say why they didn't apply when all they had to say was the state focuses this court on case law that is not authoritative to this jurisdiction. Therefore, the court should disregard that and move on to the next point. I feel like they belabored points that didn't need to be belabored, and they didn't flesh out the more important points that they just sort of breezed over in the very beginning. So that was essentially what I was saying. I was obviously a lot more fired up this morning. It's been a long day. It's 10 o'clock, but that's essentially my assessment. I would not have done it that way. I don't know why they did it that way. I can't get in their head, but I wouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah, I said as much, but maybe not as eloquently, that I would have done it differently. What I saw was what looked to me like boilerplate language on these aggravating factors, and probably what we saw, Octavia, was a product of the fact that they were limited to 35 pages. Had
But
it
they went
been a
beyond that, and then they wasted pages on things they didn't need to. If they were gonna blow the page limit, they should have just because I thought well, I guess they're not counting their table of contents. That was another
no,
thing. Why would they have this table of authorities? It was written very much like an appellate brief. So I suspect the person who wrote that was not Kathy Nestor. I think it might have been Richard Novak because the way that he was arguing during the preliminary hearing, he was the one bringing up these very long sidebar objections, bringing up all the constitutional issues. I suspect he does a lot of appellate work, which is quite different than trial work. And some appellate attorney did appear to write that brief based upon the way that it was presented and structured. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you didn't. I think it's just probably big pages worth of copy pasta that they brought in from other briefs that they probably used that same language numerous times before, and it's already written, it's already drafted. You bring it in, and you might tailor it a little bit to your case here or there, but they obviously think this is their strongest argument on appeal if he loses, and so you might as well make sure it's briefed well before trial.
Yeah, Patricia, go ahead.
Hey guys, just jumping in here because I was on the call earlier or on this space earlier with Octavia when we were originally discussing this. Baron, it's Jill of all trades.
What did you
Uh,
ask me?
I said it's Jill of all trades.
Oh, Jill, how
Yeah,
are you doing, Jill?
that's my YouTube. Don't ask why. Um,
Yeah, okay.
anyway, I think where the confusion was because someone earlier brought up that Octavia and I both sort of used the word concede that the state was or that the defense was conceding, and I don't think that either of us meant that in the term like they're admitting it. They just didn't address it, and perhaps we should have used a different word, because concede sort of has that legal meaning of we're admitting it. And I think both of us were just saying earlier that the fact that they didn't really dive into the identity issue when they had so much to work with there was something that both of us said, hey, it's not how we would have done it. We're not out here to slam other attorneys. They Everybody does things differently. But I think both of us, when we read that brief, were very disappointed that it was basically a paragraph and one line saying, you don't have identity. And I understand the rules in Utah are a little different than a lot of us are used to, but that was basically what I think both of us were trying to convey was they didn't really go into that at all and spent most of the time on the enhancements for whatever reason. But
And
that's
they
all.
adopted the state's language. That was the problem. That was the problem I had because they were adopting this language of the rifle and the shooter, and the video shows Tyler Robinson. They didn't use qualifying language when making that argument, and they should have, even in that section. They
I
should have
agree.
said it's the state's position that the video shows this. They could have even put a footnote or a parenthetical, even though the defense again disputes that. They didn't write any of that. They just wrote it adopting the state's language and moved on. And so they should have even slowed themselves down to make those specific qualifiers because their written presentation matters when they're making an argument just as much as an oral argument, particularly if it's filed and becomes part of the public court record.
Yeah, at least 100% they should have put the qualifiers in front of, you know, what the state alleges is X or that kind of thing. And they missed that on several places. They did have it in many, and we all know, hey, we're attorneys. We're not perfect. We do mess up. But I think it would have avoided a lot of confusion or a lot of ammunition from some people who may be reading it the way they want to if they had simply put those qualifiers in.
I agree with you that I would have done it differently.
Great.
I loved
No,
how
I'm glad
fired
you
up you
guys
were
got
this
to
morning, Octavia. I loved that. That was good energy.
It's late.
That was good. I like your energy before noon or at noon. Yeah.
Basically, I'm boring
Oh,
everybody
before
now. Got it.
no, no, not at all. Not
No,
at
no,
all.
no. But you were really fired this morning.
So I keep forgetting to ask Baron. I have to ask. So there was a space that I did with Andrew Wilson a while back. I think Muppet was in there, but I gave the hypothetical to Gary Melton. I was like, "Oh, by the way, guys, Baron, he did help fund my setup in my studio, and he paid me. And I just want to be honest." And I was like, "Just kidding." But you see how if he did, though, there could be some bias there. And I was trying to call out this alleged payments that Gary's gotten. Uh, and so, but then you did a show, I think a couple nights later, and then you kind of led with your opening statement about the tobacco industry and sugar industry, big pharma, and the conflict of interest, and then you went into like the Graham Allens and Jack Posobics. I think you even mentioned Wilson. So I kept telling everybody, I was like, he did that show because I said that in a space and he heard it. So now I need to know if that's the case.
I wish I could say yes. I would love to say yes.
Please don't make his head any bigger,
I
Baron.
was gonna say
Please.
I wanted to feed into that right then. I wanted that to be the moment, but no, that wasn't it.
Oh,
My
that's
opens,
crazy. Okay, so it was just a coincidence. Okay, so maybe you
yeah,
didn't even hear that. Maybe you didn't even hear that space.
Bro,
Wow.
he didn't even know who you were until 30 minutes ago.
no, that's not true. I've listened to
Oh,
the
okay.
time
I'm
space
just kidding.
before, but I don't. That open was a while back. I don't know that I'd listened to your spaces
Well,
at that time.
but you do remember that show though, where
I
you
don't.
for
The
okay,
show
okay,
where I
that's
talked
what it
about
is.
the sugar,
You talked about the
I
sugar
remember
industry,
that.
big
Yeah,
pharma. Yeah,
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 that
the
was a while
open.
back
Yeah,
though. That was several months ago, wasn't it?
no, no, no. You, I think, because it's funny you say that because I think it's the second time you spoke about big pharma. So this one was only like maybe it was in July. It was like maybe 6 weeks,
Okay, yeah, maybe it wasn't that
something
long.
like that. But I guess, yeah, I guess it was just a coincidence because I was trying to explain to Gary, like, hey, actually, I might have it because Coach Colin actually played it on his show. But nonetheless, there's some hands up. Patricia, did you have something else? Because your hand was up again.
Sorry, my bad. It
Oh,
doesn't
you're
show.
good. You're good. Luke, what do you got?
Baron, it's an honor to have your ear. I clip your show all the time and share it out. I hope you don't mind.
Not at all.
I think one of the biggest things that is going to make a difference in this case is the thing you have, I think, quadrupled down upon is when was he booked? I think that's, a really big issue that needs to be addressed. And I think it could make a huge difference in the course of this case.
I agree. I think all the context clues point to the fact that he had turned himself in prior to those Discord chats being made. I'm open to being wrong. I mean, context clues are only as good as the context, and if the context changes, then they're not as good, right? But the big giveaway for me was I believe that the reason the news organization was trying so hard to get those tapes on when he turned himself in was because the rumor going around town was he was in custody before 7 o'clock. And the fact that they wouldn't turn him over was awfully telling to me that it probably was before they said it was. So we'll see, though. I mean, the state. Did you see how they tried to address it during the preliminary by saying, "Oh yeah, someone told me he turned himself in at 9." Okay, so this is double hearsay we're letting in and trying to establish a fact with it. Got it. Got it.
And again, videotape. The video's lost. Why does this keep happening? In all
Well,
these,
not only is the video lost, but when they did show us video of Tyler Robinson in the Washington County Sheriff's Office, notice they zoomed in so you couldn't see the timestamp.
you couldn't even really see his face.
Yeah. You got people speculating he was on an elevator.
They have zoomed in on quite a few different frames, huh, Baron? Of security cam just to hide certain things out of frame, it seems.
Well, like the car in the side by side in the parking lot when he jumped off the roof.
Right.
They zoomed in on that for months. They wouldn't show us that those cars waited on him to jump off the roof before they accelerated at a rapid rate of speed to catch up to him to see
Do
if he
they
was
not
hurt.
know that we can zoom in just as good as they can just to put out the regular full framed video and that we can probably edit better and zoom in better than they can? But that's not the point.
Yeah.
And that they cut that video, right then when all that action's happening and he's running off. Like, where did he go? Why
Yeah.
can't we see the rest of it?
I don't understand how they're allowed to admit, even at the probable cause hearing, to altered video. Like, he ruled against letting them bring in altered video for the compilation. So why is altered video allowed for identification? That doesn't make any sense.
It's worse than altered video. They've got video out of order that they squeeze together in a sizzle reel that appears to show something that didn't happen. They've got missing footage where things just jump around. I think Alley Top Files was the one that caught that first, where he's standing at the top of the stairwell and it looks like he's just standing there, and then all of a sudden the shadow jumps and you look at the timestamp and it moves forward a minute plus. They've got him on the roof, and then 7 minutes goes by and we see nothing. And then they sizzle reel in a new clip. Like, what happened in those 7 minutes? Did someone else come up there? Did he signal down to somebody? Did he jump on the phone? Did he? What was he doing?
Speaking of
It's
Baron, have you noticed that we're missing 1216 on the roof? Have you keyed in on that yet?
12:16 p.m.
1216 as he approaches the ledge to go hide and what Gary believes is assemble the rifle. If you go and watch the timestamp, it cruises right over 1216.
Yeah,
So
it
it
goes
go,
to 12:17, and then it cuts off, and we pick it back up at
what
12:22.
what you think is so damning on 1216 that minute? What do you think he's doing that's so damning?
I mean, it'd just be conjecture.
Gary told me today that they didn't want to waste the judge's time.
Yeah, that's nonsense in a 5-day hearing. That's nonsense that they don't want to waste 1 minute.
Did everybody go quiet?
Sounds like it.
Chasing, you're new here. You've been very patient.
Uncle Tom, if you need more room for speakers, just drop me down, mate.
Thank you, Muppet.
Okay,
I tried
Baron,
DMing you.
you got anything for Muppet or?
This is the Muppet Masher, Baron.
Yeah, yeah. Muppet's done a good job of identifying
Dude,
people.
you're so good at that.
Have
Yeah,
you been practicing in the shower just like Blake does?
I don't want to
I
know what you're
think Baron has
practicing in
done
the
some
shower.
time. I think Baron has done some time down in
He's
Australia.
yanking and
That's
banking
Yeah,
in
I,
the
I
really
think
shower.
good.
Baron's
That's
a
I think he's
really
Baron's a
good.
yanking and
closet
banking in the
Aussie.
shower, guy.
I think he's a closet Aussie.
Chasing,
Hey,
what's up?
Uncle Tom. Thank
Hello.
you so much. Hey, Baron, it's Pam Bailey.
Miss
Um,
Bailey.
do you know that I was your first moderator? I reached out to you via email and you accepted immediately. So thank you for that. Anyway, I wanted to remind you about my super chat today and the letter I was talking about. I wasn't sure if you felt that it was important enough to maybe shoot a text to Candace about that, if that
Can you?
refreshes your memory.
It doesn't. Can you get a little more specific?
The BB letter.
Oh. I think I'm confident she'll have that available, and she probably
Okay.
has it memorized.
Okay, beautiful. That's all I wanted. I love being in this space. I listen to you guys all the time, and
Hey,
I'm
thank you
just
for always listening to us.
Thank you.
always,
And
always,
Hopefully, we
and
Barron's
make you laugh.
and even better that Baron's here tonight. So that's a treat.
he's never replied to one of my emails back in December, but I might need to change my PFP and my email to a blonde woman. I might get a better open rate if I do that.
One more
Hey,
thing,
hey, I'll let you in on a secret. I don't open emails. That's my sister. So if my sister's into blonde women, I need to know.
Baron. Did you get my gift at your PO box that you have to wear sometime? Stop it. Sorry, my chihuahua is yelling at my
Oh
doodle.
God, the Chihuahua.
Um, I know. She's a sweet chihuahua though. I sent you something hilarious to wear. I know you had to have gotten it by now.
What was it?
They're Viking braids.
Oh yeah, I got those.
Y'all, you know you have made it when you have a fan base like Barron's. I mean, listen at this love, y'all. This is love. Like I'm jealous.
Miss
when
Bailey's great. She writes in a lot. We chat a
when
lot.
when Candace wore her braids, I was immediately watching her podcast, and I was on Amazon, and I'm like, I need to match Baron's hair color, and I clicked it and I sent it to his PO box.
Apparently, Miss Bailey thinks I have bright red hair.
No, it said chestnut brown.
Okay.
That's Gary.
Oh gosh.
His hair's
All right.
orange.
Thanks you all. I'm gonna tend to my dogs here that are fighting now.
Don't let them bite people's ankles.
She doesn't.
Good.
She has 4 teeth left.
Oh, God bless her. All right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. That was so cool. Nicole.
Hey, can any my phone's
Oh yeah.
messed up.
Oh,
Can
go
anybody
ahead.
hear me?
Absolutely, we can hear you.
Okay. Um, I had a question regarding Diligent doing all of his research. Did you ever talk to anyone that Tyler worked for?
No, I didn't. The electric company, you mean?
Yeah,
No, I did not.
I was just curious if his company was working in the area that day.
That's a good question. I know that according to the narrative, he was reported to have called in citing that he was going to go work at his grandma's to help with carpet. But so as far as the narrative goes, he called in to work that day. But I've never checked in on that. I know that I think Candace did. And when I asked her if she wanted me to ask the grandma anything, it was, did he go help with carpet that day? But when I asked the grandma, she said no. So I think that he may have just used, he called in maybe for that purpose or something that day. But I never talked to anybody that he worked for.
Oh, okay. Because I never heard anybody follow up regarding that to see if he could have been working in the area, or if possibly, he even had two phones, like a work phone, you know, and then he wouldn't necessarily even know what was going on with that other phone.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, those kids these days usually have multiple devices. They'll have
Yeah,
iPads.
I know that because my little cousin does too. I'm like, why do you have two phones? He's like, oh, one's my work phone.
I guess that chick that you let up on stage has been working with Paramount Tactical or Gary. Did you know that, Tom? That's where I was quiet. I was getting DMs about that.
That's why we call her number 94.
Oh, the Chels lady. Oh yeah, yeah.
She's
She's
number
I
nine
have
or
her blocked.
93 or
Wait, who?
94. Number
She
So
94.
didn't. She
I'm
never
gonna
texted me anything, by the way. I didn't get any text messages.
Stage 5 clinger, bro. Stage 5.
yeah,
She was trying
she
to make you into the wedding crasher. Stage 5 clinger.
she
Vince
was
Vaughn.
definitely on the Chardonnay tonight, but I'm gonna go to a commercial break real quick because I don't think Barron's heard this yet. A chamber of lunacy. Well, I just, for the record, I just pointed out how you're an echo chamber because you had an ability to critically think about what could get him exonerated. And so, but let's get back. Give me some options. Give me some options. I told you what would exonerate. Well, and that is, you weren't. There's nothing that we know of. Well, you had to answer because you kind of looked silly in that moment. But let's talk about truth since you brought up. I don't have an answer because I can't think of anything. So let's talk about truth because you've been very adamant about people lying and that you guys and you're telling all the truth. So can you just tell the audience here the truth? Did you attempt to get a background check or ask for a background check on Coach Colin? No. Okay, fine. What? She had done a background check. And by the way, I have attempted to run a background check on Coach Collins. I don't know what your problem with that is. What I asked her in that text was, did you do a background check? Because she had so much information on him. She said, hey, I know that. I was like, did you do a background check? That was a question. Yeah, and I have tried to run a background check on Coach Collins. He's from Canada. He lives in Tennessee. But there's no real information on his background check. Is there?
He literally he short circuited out, bro. He forgot that he said no. He literally short circuited.
I'm sure Barron's not surprised by that, but
I've heard that before.
oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I've not searched Colin, ordered a background check. Yes, I've ordered a background check. I actually did try.
Oh, it takes.
That's the IQ. That's the IQ we're dealing with on the other side,
That's the
Greg.
blinky guy. He started blinking rapidly at that moment. That's
He
what
blinked
happens.
out.
Yeah, the blinks start to get in the way of thinking thoughts.
Kate, what's up?
Hey, I have a couple questions for Baron, kind of about consequences or if there are consequences. I'm wondering about the victim's advocate kind of overstepping. In in dockets numbers 111 and 493, their role is kind of laid out pretty clearly. And they definitely overstepped, especially when pushing for that 12.1 to get overturned, what Graf had decided about it being shown in the courtroom or not. And there were huge, obvious consequences publicly for that. And I'm wondering if there are going to be any consequences like in the courtroom for the advocate's attorney in that regard, because they're not supposed to push the judge to overturn his own rulings.
I have no idea how victim advocates work in Utah. That's it's such a strange nuance to Utah law that I've never encountered.
Okay. And then my other question is with the video that they showed, and not only with the skipped like minutes here and there and whatnot, but with in particular the mirrored stairwells. Is there some sort of consequence for showing that as totally invalid? Like, I mean, it's completely inaccurate, what they were showing.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of issues with the videos they showed because, again, I think they showed things out of order. I think they showed things flipped. I think they showed things where there was a skip in the middle and they didn't articulate there was a skip. Go to the parking garage thing. He
Hmm.
says, "Yeah, here he is turning in the parking garage." Then he goes and parks. Well, so he turns in on floor one, and then he says, then he goes and parks, and they flip camera angles. But he's coming down from floor two. Where the hell was he? How much
Right,
time elapsed? Where did he go? Who did he talk to? Where did someone park next to him? Did he park? Did he just circle around? What's going on?
right. Where are
And
the
I
cameras
think,
from the other floors of the parking structure?
yeah, I mean, you owe a duty of candor to the tribunal. That is a standard in courts. You owe a duty of candor to the tribunal. And if you're going to show video footage and narrate over it, it better be accurate and it better not skip around, in my opinion. I don't know if the judge caught it. if the judge doesn't care. It seems to be pretty lawless in some respects in Utah with respect to evidence. They can kind of do whatever they want, and there are no consequences, and there's no real rule telling them they can't. Apparently, I mean, you can
Mhm.
just have Lance Twigg show up on a Zoom call, sitting across from a lawyer, asking him questions, and his words are coming out of his mouth, but his mouth's not moving. You know, what the hell is that?
Looking like a zombie.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah,
lizard
So
person.
it seemed like the judge really was kind of ticked that that letter got shown accidentally, allegedly, um, on the screen when it wasn't supposed to be. And I'm very curious about his feelings about how it went with that 12.1 and how everybody, came out about that. And after he got kind of pushed on that whole issue in the first place. So I'm just interested in seeing how that'll end up, or if he's just gonna have to let that just gloss over.
it, I'm not dogging Judge Graff, but I tried my very first case that I tried was a civil car wreck case, and it was with a brand new judge. And it's just a different environment trying a case with a brand new judge than it is with a very experienced judge who has, a decade or more on the bench and has seen every trick in the book. And I just wonder to what extent they weren't treating Judge Graff like high schoolers treat a substitute teacher, where they feel like they can just get away with anything.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes you almost feel bad for him.
Well, let's not get carried away.
I said almost.
For real. Authentic.
Only because I've been a substitute teacher.
Kate, you would be such a fun substitute teacher.
I don't know. I've got 5 kids. I've got that mom voice.
Can y'all
No, I
imagine
feel like you can
Baron?
control.
Baron as a
Oh
substitute
my
teacher,
God.
like with a class
Baron
full
would
of
be the
troublemakers?
best.
Oh,
I
he
was
would
a
settle that
substitute
shit
teacher, Blake.
down.
Blake,
Of
I
course
was a
you were.
substitute
Were you
teacher.
really?
I was. What
Oh,
what years was that?
that's amazing.
And
2000. I was substitute teaching on
No
September 11th.
way.
Was I really?
No way.
Wow.
Oh, you would have
I
been
got
I was
like
a
Yeah.
How'd you hand?
sophomore.
you'd have
I
been
was a
like
sophomore in
Wait,
high
20.
wait.
school.
You've been 20.
I got questions. What grade and how did you handle it?
Oh, I did high school. I only sent one kid to the principal's office. It was a kid named Danny. It wasn't September 11th because I know where I was that day. But it was that year. Yeah, I sent one kid to the hospital, the principal's office.
The
Does his dad
hospital.
work at the
Damn,
school or
Baron.
something?
I mean, he
Prin-
wrecked shop, dude. He fucking
Principal,
wedgie,
principal's office. Principal's
And,
office.
swirly.
and let the record show that Barron remembers where he was on September 11th, but Blake does not remember where he was on September
Oh, that's a good call.
10th,
That's a
11th,
good call.
Yeah.
No, no, no. I actually I had one substitute class where they did not give me any coursework at all. No, nothing to do. So I talked to them about why the moon landing was fake for an hour. Every
That's
class,
Yes,
I had the
awesome.
whole school convinced the moon landing was fake.
that is so
Oh
funny. Have
wow,
you had
that's
any of your
insane.
students, ex-students, super chat in and be like, "Hey, Mr. Coleman, it's me. I remember when you convinced me that the moon landing was fake."
No, those kids would be old now.
I didn't.
Mm.
You're not that old. Come on, Baron.
right.
Well, hey, I just had two quick things to say. So, dovetailing off of what Furman mentioned earlier about that post that you had made about the antenna, he has done a ton of work, and I just you're tagged in it. I also tagged Daisy to take a look at it. But if it's easier, I can shoot it to you in an email because I think actually he might be onto something that you might want to dig into a little bit more. So I was just going to toss it out there. And then the second thing I was going to say is I know people are bugging you to write a book. And I know that that may or may not be in the future, but what I will say is I think it would be really cool for you to consolidate all of your opening statements and to put it into a book.
Yeah, that's been suggested a lot. I don't have time to write a book. I mean, Daisy could tell you. Find her one day; she'll tell you. I mean, we work. It's a lot of hours to put these shows together, and there's just no time to sit down and write.
I will happily volunteer to grab all your transcripts and send them to you in a doc if you want them.
And you can use me and my real name in your book as maybe even a chapter if you want, Baron. I give you permission.
You would get a chapter book.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Tom, we need to find out if Barron will go to our Pod Slopper house whenever we do our TV show and find out if he wants to be on that or not. So we
I
need to
don't
be
know
sure.
if he wants to be part of all that, but
I don't. I
I-
don't even know what you're talking about.
oh my gosh, it's like the real world meets,
Big
Charlie
Brother.
Kirk investigation,
I mean, 8
pod
kids.
slot
I don't
style.
even know how he does anything with 8 kids. I really don't.
Speaking of which,
So I'm,
Baron, you had me near tears yesterday. We bring our oldest to college tomorrow
yeah, we're
for
doing
the
it Monday.
for
Well,
the
we're doing our
first
second
time.
oldest
Yeah.
Monday. Yeah, and it's I think it didn't hit us because we thought we had a little more time. We thought he was going to go and then come home for a few days after, like drop all his stuff off and then drive back home. And but then no, they have orientation that week, and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
uh, it's just quick.
Yeah, ours is doing the grouchy kind of getting pushing us away thing now.
Oh well, I've had
Super
that
fun.
for years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he put off packing until about yesterday. So,
Yeah.
like, what all do I need anyway?
Yeah.
I've gotten
Well,
two hands on that.
on that note, with having the children, it's like I've tried to convince Andrew Wilson. I'm like, in a parallel universe, you would be friends with this guy. Like he's doing everything you want. He's conservative. He's got the nuclear family, bunch of kids. Faith. He's got his faith. Like you should listen to his opening statements. Like you both are well read. Like I don't get it, and he just does not like you.
Because Barron's a
Um,
fitness guy. Andrew likes to. They wouldn't be able to hang out. I mean, if Barron took him to CrossFit, Andrew would probably die.
No, I think Andrew is. This is kind of what I was hinting at earlier. I think a lot of these people, they've lost their minds over this issue. Like nobody lost their mind over the Karen Reed case. Nobody lost their mind over the Brian Koberger case. But something about the Charlie Kirk case, people have dedicated their entire lives to trying to destroy anyone asking any questions, and there's something there, man. There's something suspect about that, and I don't want
It almost it tells me that like they have their identity wrapped up in it. Like there's something like it's like like it almost comes off as like when you attack that you attack like and it's so incredibly ingrained and personal. Like it is. It's very very sus.
well, I'll get
yeah.
more specific, authentic. I'll get more specific. So the argument from his standpoint is that this is the biggest TP is the biggest obviously uh, movement on the ground and in the face of young people and has access to young people and as far as he's concerned, you can't give up any ground to the left because you run into a lot of problems. And I think you've already talked about this on your show, and I think, but it would be cool to hear you say it, but or give your perspective. But I think you just don't care really. You just kind of want to get the Epstein class out, and you don't really care after that.
I'm populist right. I don't care about TPUSA being cozy with the administration. That's irrelevant to me. If anything, that does put me sort of in opposition to them. It's one of the reasons why I feel the same way about Heritage Foundation. I feel the same way about APAC. I feel the same way about the Democrat organizations that are the same way. MoveOn.org and all this. I mean, these people are establishment, uniparty, and in a sane world, people with Andrew Wilson's worldview would be on my side. He would be a populist right winger. And there would be populist left wingers, and we would have common ground on certain issues in trying to take the globalist corporatist uniparty apart. And I don't understand. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe you guys are helping me work through this tonight. Thank you. You're like my therapy tonight. Thank you. Um, maybe that's the issue. These people aren't as concerned over our investigation into Charlie Kirk as they are in the protection of the corporatist globalist uniparty party of big pharma, big war. And that's just never been my jam. Like I've always been opposed to all that.
Yeah, but so you said TP getting cozy with this administration, but what happens to young voters, on college campuses that TP, like let's say there is no TP, what happens at that point? It's obviously movement, which Andrew's concerned with this movement, ground game, right? Which is the Unfuck America and the, are you okay with them like moving in, or you think something else will pop up, or
Any college student who's gonna vote for Lindsey Graham, which is who Turning Point supported, is not at risk for falling into Unfuck America and voting for whoever they're supporting. That's nonsensical. I've admitted that Turning Point has been able to turn out some Republican votes, and I don't know if it's enough to change elections, maybe here and there, but they've been able to turn out some Republican votes. But if what you're advocating for is a perpetuation of this 3.5 decade foreign war in the Middle East, I don't want to be a part of it. Like, I don't want that to advance. That's not what I'm into. If you're advocating for continuing to spend ourselves into oblivion, a $40 trillion and counting national debt, I have no interest. If you're talking about outsourcing jobs out of America and destroying the middle class and importing, drug addicts, essentially is what's happening. We're creating drug addicts by importing drugs and everything else. I'm not interested in it. If we want to go occupy Afghanistan for 20 years and turn it back over to the Taliban and drop off $80 billion of equipment for the trouble, I have no interest in turning out votes for that. And if that's what TPUSA is doing, then I am opposed to TPUSA. But I've always been opposed to TPUSA. That's not new. And me investigating the death of Charlie Kirk doesn't change my opinion on TPUSA relative to what they're doing. Now, if you talk about, what Charlie was originally doing in 2012 was where I am now and have always been, and where I was in 2012 and 2010 and 2008. He was populist right wing, economic libertarianism. That's not mainstream Republicanism. That was the Tea Party. Charlie Kirk was founded to be the Tea Party for college students. The Tea Party had a horrific, a dreadful approval rating on college campuses. They couldn't take the Tea Party message to college campuses. So they invented Charlie Kirk in order to take that message to college campuses. That's the time. And what always happens with populist movements, the parties expand out enough temporarily to capture that populism, bring it back into the uniparty fold, and then ignore it. And that's what they did with the Tea Party. That's what they did with Occupy Wall Street on the left. That's what they've always done to all of these movements. And I have no interest in perpetuating that system. So if your argument to me is, well, Andrew Wilson's afraid your investigation into Charlie Kirk might damage the Uniparty, okay. Now I see why we differ. Now I see why he's so ingrained. If he's a globalist, corporatist, uniparty protector, if he wants to perpetuate a multi-decade war in the Middle East that's gained us nothing and bankrupted our country and made housing costs out of control, run up the price of oil, bankrupted an entire generation of young people, made it so nobody can afford anything, then yeah, we're on opposite teams. We're not on the same team.
That's based as fuck, Baron.
I have a
Never forget that Turning Point also endorses Victor Marx. So there's that.
yeah. I have a quick question. Actually, I have a two-part question. One is to Diligent, and again, if this is sort of
No,
something.
Diligent's not here.
Oh, never mind. I'll ask him elsewhere. Um, just.
I just want to let Theory go real quick.
Oh,
Theory.
sorry.
No, you're good. Theory, go ahead.
Hi guys. I'm very anxious, so ignore the nervous voice I have. I just have a couple. Well, one thing I wanted to point out and one question. I'm not sure if you guys picked up on the Andrew Wilson and Joe Rogan podcast where Andrew Wilson said he talked to Erica Kirk and asked her why she was acting the way she is. And he mentioned that she said that she got the worst possible position supporting her husband and that she was a background character. I thought that was pretty strange, almost like a motive, but obviously not. I'm not saying it is, but
Is that a
just
direct
kind of
quote?
strange. Yes, from Andrew Wilson on Joe Rogan. I actually have it on my page somewhere, like, and I tagged her, like, why would you say that to Andrew? Like, is this true? Like, um, but then my other thing I was just curious about, I'm not sure if it has been touched on or not, because I'm kind of all over the place. I work thirds, so I try to keep up with as much as I can. Have we ever talked about why they were able to do like a criminal trespass area on the breezeway, but not like near the rooftop entrances by chance?
I would
Because
submit they
that's all
didn't want to.
TPUSA asked for. That's all TPUSA asked for was a restricted zone on that particular patch of roof above Charlie Kirk's tent. They never mentioned any other roof. It is a total lie. They've been perpetuating now for 11 months. It's not true. And they asked to control the space above Charlie's head, that walkway above Charlie's head, because, and if you don't believe me, go back and look at the text message. He says the walkway of the Sorensen building connects to the roof above Charlie's head, and we want to make sure people can't throw rocks down on top of him.
And there are
That's the
no
only roof
rocks.
that they had agreed to control. And so they asked. Now, maybe if they would have done their work, I don't know. I don't know what they did, but if they'd have said, and we'd like to control some of these other roofs, maybe they would have controlled those as well. But they didn't ask for that.
That was kind of my thought. Like, if you had like the thought to protect one, why not all? you know?
Well, it also conveniently was the only spot you would have been able to spot somebody on the on the Losi Center roof. That's just whether or not that's was planned that way. It's certainly convenient.
Not surprising at all. Thank you, all of you, very much. And Baron, I listen to your show very often, and it's an honor to even talk to you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Uncle Tom, I threw Theory's post up in the nest or up in the Jumbotron
That's
or
fine.
nest, whatever you call
And
it. Yeah, because I had
and
not heard that.
I'm glad you recommended Furman as well. He was trying to get a mic. So yeah, Furman, I mean, I'm not an audio wizard, so I don't know. A lot of these guys sound smart. I don't know what they're saying sometimes, but he does seem like he's got good information.
Oh, Baron, I'm telling you, if you have any questions regarding any of the audio like equipment that was there that day, Furman is your guy. Like the amount of work this dude has done to be able to identify to like the wearables. So every watch, every like eyeglasses, everything. He can tell you exactly the brand, the type, the capabilities. It's pretty insane. Feel free, Uncle Tom, if you want to drop me and bring him up by all means.
Um, I think that you share to where I Baron or however he can get it. Mitch, what
Bienvenidos a Mitch, the Jew from Mexico. Bienvenidos,
Oh
which
my
no,
Mitch.
don't
God,
yell,
Blake.
Blake, don't yell.
So sorry. He
Mitch,
does that to me.
Mitch, because I think Baron has like a device on his ear, so I don't know
Sorry,
if
Baron.
that's
I get excited when the Mexican
That's
Jew
funny.
pops in.
You have tinnitus too, I guess, Baron, right? I got that, so I got a hearing problem as well. I found it interesting. You said two things: how many of the people on the other side have tied their identity to this, and how you know you're not doing what you're doing to Charlie Kirk. You just happen to oppose the message. But from my perspective, what I view is the people in that camp hated Charlie Kirk's message. Let's say not his person, and is seeking to turn it into a clown show by defiling his wife and defiling his legacy because, like you said, they oppose the message politically that he supports. And in your case, what did you have, 1,000 followers before? And now what? I think you have almost 200,000. Your identity as a social media individual is highly tied to this case. So you're accusing those people, these nobody moms with like, I don't know, 1,000 followers, is their identity's tied to it. But that's your identity, isn't it?
yeah.
So I
Don't.
do it.
Oh, go ahead,
I do.
Baron.
I don't mind answering that. I do a show, and people are free to tune in or not tune in. I
Yeah,
am.
but nobody tuned in before.
I'm
Like you
in.
like you said, you held a
I'm
space, you
invest.
maybe had 30 people, right?
Yeah.
So,
Don't
Mitch,
please, please, please.
Before.
if you're gonna ask a question, do you want the answer?
Yeah. Don't
I
talk
have a
over me.
question. Yes, I'll ask you a
Okay.
question.
Okay. Yeah. So listen to my
There are many
answer.
theories that you
No.
put
No. I
forth.
want to answer your question. I want to answer
Okay,
your
I
question.
apologize. I thought
All right.
Tom told me. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Baron.
So I do a show. People are free to tune in or not tune in. I don't go into people's comments 400 to 500 times a day, post incessantly, make my entire identity on social media that I oppose Candace Owens or I oppose Charlie Kirk or I oppose Erica Kirk. I'm in looking into oddities around this case. And if people want to tune in and listen, and they want to ask questions, then I will be there for 2, 3, 4 hours, several times a week. Happy to entertain anything anybody asks. I don't really screen the questions. I mean, I'll skip some that say ugly words or whatever, but I don't really screen the questions all that closely. Um, I am differentiating myself from someone who this is all they do. They wake up in the morning and they make it their mission not to investigate what happened, not to investigate any crime or issue or political position, but just to attack Candace, to call her names, to attack Barron, to call him names, to attack Blake, to attack Diligent, to attack Tom, anybody who's engaged in trying
Well,
to figure out what happened. And
I think
that's
it's
where I draw the
because
difference.
I think it's not they're attacking the individual, but I think they're attacking the entire phenomenon of Candyland, which is about creating social chaos within America, to turn neighbor against neighbor, to turn people suspecting everything is not to be trusted. And I think that that is a corrosive foreign psyop. And whether
Mitch,
you
you're
are,
not even
I
in
know you're not
America and
engaged in
you're
it,
an
Baron,
Israeli, so
but I
stop.
do think that people, yeah, I am Israeli. I don't pretend to be anything other. I don't lie about my identity in that sense. My point is
In what
that
sense
I'm
do
not
you
saying
lie?
someone is engaged in it as an actor, but there's the history of what is known as foreign side of useful idiots who align on a message because, like you said, you think that America's decisions in the Middle East are wrong, and the history in the Middle East is bad, and Charlie Kirk supported certain things, and therefore devolving and turning his life and his legacy into a clown show creates that benefit politically, and I see it in that direction.
Well, he supported it until he didn't, and then he was killed.
No, he never changed that. That's just the joke. That's part
Okay.
of turning his legacy of who he
So
was into a clown show. That's even part of it. Exactly.
so the difference between you
Pretending that he has suddenly become someone that he was who he was. His wife, his friends, all are clear who he is. Everybody who is actually connected to him are clear who he was. This idea of turning him into, almost a JQ person in death is a defilement of who he is. And that is part of what is going on in Candyland. I call it Candyland, the ugly sister of Hollywood.
sure. Okay. Couple things on that. One is I don't try to ascribe motive. You do, and that's fine. That's your take. But I typically dismiss people who ascribe motive.
No, I'm not
So
describing motive.
you
I'm
are
saying the
you
phenomenon that's happening.
you're
I
saying
didn't say
that
you. I didn't say that you're a bad
okay. You
person.
got to stop talking over me.
Okay.
All right. I'm talking, then you talk, and I'm politely listening, and then I talk and you talk over me. So stop. First, you're ascribing motive. You're saying it's a foreign psyop that is being done to drive division and everything else. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is there was a crime, there was a murder, took place here in the United States. You are in Israel, so you aren't as affected by it as we are here in the United States. But there was a crime. And in the United States, when there's a crime, it's thoroughly investigated. And a lot of times, the public gets involved in that investigation and they look into certain aspects of that crime. Sometimes it takes years before the motive is uncovered and the true party is held responsible. That doesn't mean we don't look, and it doesn't mean we don't investigate. So that's number one. Number two, when you come in and try to say that we know this is some kind of a foreign psyop, you have absolutely no basis to say that. None whatsoever.
So I'll tell you my basis to say that. I'm not saying that you are acting on behalf of foreign government at all. There's a concept called the useful idiot who just picks up on something. But there is not a question that the first narratives emanated from Max Blumenthal, The Gray Zone, and Professor Morandi from the IRGC. That is a fact. The fact that that's the kernel of where this all began, this cuckoo-ness. And I do think that it is corrosive to America. I actually live in Mexico, believe it or not, for whatever my own personal reasons.
Bienvenido!
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, do I love America? Yes. My parents were American. I do love America. I have business interests in America. So this is not like I don't love that country and realize that it is the most important country for the survival of the Western value system. My point is that it's one thing to question the government, which any reasonable person does, because the government is there to regulate us, tax us, jail us. It is not a force to be trusted outright. But when you question everything and turn a widow into part of a conspiracy, so the only question I have left, this is my last question, and then I'll stop, is you made many assertions. Have you been self-reflective and said, you know what, I'm willing to withdraw that claim? You know what, I listened to the coroner on, I forget the name of that show you're on. You know what, this idea that I had, I'm willing to withdraw that and turn that around. Have you done any of that?
If you have any claim you think that's worth evaluating, I'll be happy to consider it. But I want to go back and ask you a question about a claim you made about Charlie Kirk, and he's always been the same. Did Charlie Kirk say that Israel was going to ethnically cleanse Gaza?
Yeah, but you know what? You're taking the difference between people questioning a government. So the people who most question that government are my people. You think that narrative, that discussion, like on in the beginning, after right after October 7th, he said, "What the fuck? How is it that was there a stand down order?" That was a normal question by loyal Israelis, right? Like, what was going on? How could such a thing happen? Talking about whether the people are going to be removed from Gaza, yeah, that's a good question, and that's something that normative. You can say someone can question a government and challenge their behavior and still be a friend to that country or that people.
Well,
Those are not in
that's a
conflict.
very anti-Semitic claim, I'm told. So I'm sorry you feel that way.
I call them Jew worshippers. I don't think people are anti-Semitic. I think they're just Jew obsessed. So I call them Jew worshippers.
Yeah. Well, my advice would be dial back the ascribing motives and look more at the actions. If you have any particular claim I've made, I'll be happy to evaluate it. Um,
I'm
I've
more the never give an inch type of guy, so not really.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me. You sound like it.
I am. That's why
Yeah,
they know me as Mitch the bitch. So what can
yeah.
I say?
That's a good thing to be known by.
It's good. It works. Thank you.
All right.
Matthew, what's
Just
up?
quickly to add,
Oh, Chris.
sorry, just quickly to add. Thanks. Look, you can see why Baron's podcast is gaining popularity as well as Kansas Owens. And you look at Charlie Kirk's page, it's dropped off a cliff. Why? Because they've done a complete 180 on his beliefs. You can push that narrative that all his closest friends, they're not his friends, they're his traitors. They're all they whatever he said they're not following. No, they're his traitors because they've done a complete 180 and all his supporter base, he's jumped ship for good reason. And that's why they're only getting 1,000, not even 1,000 views per episode. And Barron and Kansas that are seeking the truth are skyrocketing. So you can gaslight us all you want, but we don't believe it.
Yeah, that's Mitch. He's one of the Fed sloppers, so comes
One
around
of the
Oh,
once
he
in a
ran
while.
resident
away. He
idiots.
ran away.
No, I thought he was done, so I just removed him. He didn't run.
Ah, okay.
Uh yeah, so I can't see who's oh, Matthew, yeah, it was on you.
G'day, Baron. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, Matthew.
Beautiful. Thanks for coming on. Really, really appreciate seeing you in the space, and I love your Aussie accent. Awesome. um, yeah, I just wanted to invite you into a space on Friday mornings that myself, Muppet, Amy, and Hayden Wood host. So we do one every Friday morning. Our last one was called Breaking Baron. So we were trying to find mistakes that you might have made that we picked up on, just so that we all correct each other. Because moving forward, it's important that what we put out is as correct as possible. So that was one thing. I don't know if you've seen any of the spaces or are aware of it, but we
Uh,
just wanted to
Well,
let you know.
I
I think
haven't.
this Friday's the debate, Matthew, this Friday
Yeah.
morning.
So I haven't
Yeah,
seen that, but let me say I encourage that sort of reckless fact checking. I do. It's not name calling. It's not. I don't think it is. I haven't heard it, but if again, if somebody challenges a claim I make and they present evidence that makes me reconsider, I'm a better person for that. I come out better on the other side. When someone says, "Oh, he's a con man and he's ripping people off and he's a liar," okay, now I tune you out. Like that's not improving the conversation at all. And that's kind of what that last guy was doing. So if you're breaking Barron on a space on Friday morning, I encourage that sort of reckless fact checking. Go for it.
Yeah, it's basically just a discussion, and we try and go through some video footage, and and it's not specifically picking on you or picking on Candace or anyone. It's just about trying to be factual, and it basically started off with the preliminary hearing. We went through each day of the preliminary hearing, and we pulled out all the lies and all the inconsistencies that we could find. So I think we've done about 4 of them now, 4 of these spaces, but we're going to continue doing them every Friday morning, which is a Friday evening in our time in Australia. So leading forward from that, I was just curious on your thoughts of what the prosecution is presenting to the court in the way of tainted video camera footage, flipped footage, compressed footage, skipped, cropped, zoomed, reduced resolution, possibly compromised metadata, possibly misappropriating or falsifying evidence, even lying. What are your thoughts about all that? If it can be proven?
I don't know how long you've been listening. I've addressed it in the sense that a lawyer owes a truth to the tribunal. They owe a duty of truth to the tribunal, and to the extent that they are misrepresenting what's on the screen or splicing things together in some sort of a sizzle reel without explanation, reordering things, mirroring images, describing someone doing one thing, but there's clearly something else going on the screen. I think it's dishonest. I think it's sanctionable, frankly.
Yeah. So moving forward with it, what can anything be done about it, or do we just have to, leave it into the hands of the court and let them decide what or if they, follow up on that or do anything about it or reprimand anyone about it? Because it's clearly, in my view, it's a form of corruption. That's just in my view, but I just don't think that I think that it should be getting thrown out.
Well,
That's just my opinion. I'm not a lawyer.
I agree with you. If the defense doesn't raise it and the judge doesn't raise it, I don't think there's anything a citizen can do to raise it. Um, but I think we can talk about it and publicize it and try to hold them accountable publicly. We're going to be called demonic. We're going to be called foreign operators. We're going to be ascribed all kinds of evil motives, crazy, stupid, con men, hucksters, grifters. But the reality is, we're raising real issues. Like, that's a real issue. They played video footage and said something on the screen that was not reflective of what actually happened on the video. And that's a problem. That's a problem that needs to be
Yeah.
discussed and covered.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I sort of come to the same conclusion. And the same is with okay, let's just say amongst us in these spaces, we solve the case. We work out exactly what's happened. Where do we go from there? I mean, who's going to investigate? Who's going to do anything about it? And my view is it's probably the power of our voices, that if we can convince enough of the population to agree that 100% it's that, and let's just
I know, Matthew.
of doing it. Are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going, Matthew.
Can, can you hear me? Because I just received a
You're
phone call
startling.
which
You,
blocked my mic. Can you hear me?
Kangaroo got him.
Yeah. So
I got hit by a
so
marsupial.
you can hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, Matthew, we hear you.
oh, he's gonna reset or something.
Hang on, I got a
Oh,
question for Baron. I got a
oh my
question.
gosh,
I got to go.
Blake,
Just
I gotta.
it's a
No,
quick one. It's a quick one.
oh,
It's a quick one. It's a quick one. Baron, who is the first low level person you would arrest if you had a badge and the authority to shake down? Who would you shake down first?
I don't know. Can he say that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of accusing someone of a
Would you go?
crime, isn't it?
Well, so would you go Terrell? Okay, I'll answer. I would do Terrell. I think.
Terrell, turn around, hands behind your back.
Yeah, and shake them down. Who told you to do? Who told you to do this?
Oh gosh.
Like,
Wendy, you've been really
that's not a
Okay.
patient.
good.
Yep.
I guess that was a loaded question.
Okay. So I have a quick question. Retired law enforcement, and I was wondering if you had and Daisy had considered possibly grandma requesting the property record from the arresting department. And the reason I asked that is if you're thinking that the cell phone, if you're thinking that he did not that the cell phone was used in the Discord chat after he was arrested, it should have a timestamp on when when they received that property. So his cell phone would be in that.
No, I mean, I encourage people to file any grammar request they think of
Okay.
and publicize it. I mean, that's a good idea. I imagine I can already quote word for word what they're going to say back to you in terms of this is an active, ongoing investigation that'll
Yeah.
compromise, so
I thought maybe the property record might be a little bit sneakier way of doing it, but I can see what you're saying.
no, they're very broad with their declining.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Kelly's the resident grammar requester
Yes,
anyway.
absolutely. But I'm happy to share those responsibilities with anyone else. Hey, Baron. So I had a question from a gal, Caitlin Bell, XOXO. She'd been waiting for a really long time to get a mic, but she wanted to know when Tyler turned himself in, he was talking about working with a specific lawyer. How did he end up with the defense attorney that is representing him now?
So I don't know how he ended up with this specific team, but he requested a guy named Doug Terry. He was arrested in September. Doug Terry not resigned. He retired in December. So that's not a case Doug Terry would have taken anyway. You're not going to take a death penalty case 3 months before you retire. I don't know how he ended up with Catherine Nestor. I don't know if he just filed an indigency affidavit and that's who they happened to assign because she was next one up on the list, or if there was some specific specialty she had that led them to match her with his case. I don't know how it works in Utah County, but I know there were people who were offering to represent him pro bono and they were declined.
Who's next?
Oh, did it just get quiet?
It
We need it.
did.
Do we need another?
Effing Charlie, what you got? What you got?
Hey everybody, Tom, Kelly, Baron. I'm going to speak to the truck. Um, if everybody goes up to Diligence post on the Kia Soul and click on that picture and zoom in on the truck, you can actually see the bells of insulation in the back. I say this because I used to operate one of these. You can actually see the white bells in the back of that truck. The what Baron thought was an AC unit is actually just a, a fan for a dust fan, and the dome that sits at the front operates the remote control to the guy who's up in the attic blowing insulation, which controls on or off, and he can control the flow of the insulation that he's blowing into the attic. And also, the dumpster beside it, you can actually see the empty bags that he's throwing them into the white, or the empty bags he's throwing out that door into the dumpster. That machine that he loads the bells into, there's a guy in the truck loading the white bells of insulation into the giant machine which sits under that dome. And then there's a guy somewhere in that attic. What you thought was a power cord is actually a hose that blows the insulation. Um, I'm from Florida. I've been in construction all my life. It's been a while, but I used to operate one of those and run the guys that operated the truck. So that's what it is. It's simply an insulation truck. They're blowing insulation into that attic.
Yeah, and I don't know how long you've been on, but about 3 hours ago, I made the point that the reason I don't debate people is because I don't really make claims. Diligent and I were looking at that picture one day. This is weeks ago, and it's just been bothering me, stuck in the back of my craw. for weeks now. So I just thought, you know what, I'll just mention it. Somebody will be an expert. Somebody will know what that truck is.
Yeah, well, you had posted a different picture from the other side, which showed the door open. And then when Diligent posted this picture, you can actually, if you zoom in, you can actually see the white bells in the back of the truck. So
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
yeah,
I know from
and
experience.
that's why we do it. We raise issues, and then the however many people watch the show, somebody out there will know the answer. It happens almost every time we raise an issue. We'll get two, three, four, sometimes 200 experts who write in and say, "I'll tell you exactly what that is. I know
Cool.
exactly what you're dealing with." So thank you.
Good talking to you, Baron.
Yep.
Format.
Hey, yeah, I just had one question for Baron. Baron, I've came across some great work that John Collin has done on the Hades plane and all the drones that were potentially there. And I was just wondering if you'd seen his work or if you'd be like willing to interview him because I think he's done some real good work.
So I'm familiar with John Cullen. I found him back in 2017, right after the Vegas shooting, and got obsessed with his work. I think he does excellent work. He's a very sharp guy. Um, I don't even know if this is still politically correct, but I used to call him Aspie back in the day. He's like real focused, and he gets obsessed, and he just runs everything down. I thought he did excellent work on Vegas. I think he basically solved it. That it was helicopters. It wasn't a guy in the hotel. He did good work on COVID. Liked his work on COVID. Liked his work on Butler. Again, I hate that in 2026 you have to caveat everything with I don't agree with everything he says, but I think there's a lot of merit and intellect in what he says. I don't agree with him on the drone issue, but I'm open to being wrong on the drone issue. I do find the Hades planes fascinating, particularly the night Tyler Robinson turned himself in. There was one of those planes that left California headed to El Paso. It should have gone over Arizona, Phoenix area on its way to El Paso. Instead, it took a turn and it looped over St. George precisely, southern Utah, precisely at the time they tell us that Tyler Robinson turned himself in. And that to me, combined with the fact that it did the two low passes over Provo, right about the time that the event was going on, just before and just after, I think is really fascinating and needs to be fleshed out. And there needs to be some sort of an explanation, particularly with the low pass and loop over St. George between around 8 or 9 o'clock that night. I think that is something that is inexplicable. I don't think that's anything anybody ever thought that would be discovered because no plane landed. Daisy found that when she was looking just at the airspace, doing a replay of those several days over St. George, clicking on every plane that flew by, just seeing maybe this is a plane that has meaning. Maybe this is a plane that has meaning. And then she, in a panic, called and said, "Oh my gosh, you will never guess what's on this map. Come look right now." And that's when we saw that Hades plane doing the loop over St. George, a very low, long loop, took about 30 minutes at the time Tyler Robinson was supposed to be turning himself in. So I think John Cullen is right to be suspicious of these planes, but I don't see any evidence. Actually, Blake, you posted a video of the Hades plane when it
Colin
landed
actually
in.
used my. I was the one like on the night of the 10th that
Yeah.
actually found it, and then Colin reposted or recorded my video and then posted it. But
Yeah.
so
Well, you
it's
had a
two
video
separate.
of the actual plane on the ground.
Oh yeah. I'll
Yeah.
post it up in the nest.
And what you notice is there's no drone bays on that plane. Like it doesn't have the capacity, not the external capacity to um, to drop and receive drones. And so I looked at that video of that Blake posted. It was a couple minutes long, and you just don't see the capacity that that Colin is claiming. Now, if there's some other technology he's aware of where they can deploy and retrieve drones, then I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of it. So I like Colin. I'm not knocking him, but I'm not convinced on the drone issue.
Okay. And yeah, no, he's got a lot to say about it. Would you be willing to like talk with him about it in a space or a YouTube video or whatever, anything like that?
I'd be willing to talk to him. I don't interview a lot of people.
Okay.
That's not my format. So I get a lot of
Shout out.
re- a lot of suggestions to interview this person or that person. That's not really the format I have.
And Baron, I just wanted to be
Gotcha. I
clear.
appreciate you. Thank you.
2100 was the St. George jet, and then the sister jet was 1098. That's the Provo jet. Both
Hmm.
both bay out of that same Army base in El Paso, and
Yeah.
part of, I guess, training. I get different stories, but it definitely lands and takes off at the Army base there in El Paso.
Yep.
To what do we owe the pleasure, Bronson?
Better behave yourself, Bronson.
I'm
What's
sure
up,
it's
Tom?
going to be something with a lot of depth.
Super deep.
Absolutely.
Super deep. I was actually curious, Baron, if is there anything that you've seen that's been presented to you as a possible alternative theory that you've completely ruled out?
Yeah, being shot by a drone. um, no, I mean, let me see. Completely ruled out.
You're
Give
on
me some of the
YouTube,
theories.
right? You're on YouTube, right, Bronson? I'm sure.
No, no, you can
Bronson's
go to
got a great
YouTube and check.
broadcaster voice. If he's not on there, he should be.
Well,
He
we
is
can
on
keep it
YouTube.
simple, Baron. We'll just stick to the potential ways that he was unalived.
Yeah. So, have I ruled out exploding microphone? No, but I have a lot of questions. Like I'm not more than 50% there on that. Have I ruled out necklace? No, but I'm not more than 50% there. Um, you know, I can't state with specificity that something didn't happen. I mean, that's I think I can rule out shot by a gun from another location. I don't think that's a possibility. Particularly if they're saying it's a 30 caliber round. I don't see how that's a possibility. So maybe I could say I can rule that one out.
You mean shot from a different location than the Losi Center?
Yeah, like Sorensen or from the library rooftop or from the parking deck rooftop. I've heard all those, and I think you could probably rule most of those out.
Okay. But so then you
Oh,
wouldn't
palm
even rule
gun.
out
I'm
the
out on palm gun. I rule out palm gun.
is that still a thing?
Oh, is that still a thing? Yes, I get comments on it constantly.
So then you still wouldn't even necessarily rule out the 30-06.
I'm almost, yeah. I mean, I'm as ruled out on that as I am a gunshot from another location. But I am open to it. Like, if you show me evidence that you can stop a 30-06 in 3.5 inches of neck muscle, yeah, I'm open to that. I've not seen it as a possibility.
Okay.
No,
Have
no
you
one's been
seen
able to.
examples of how the other theories of how Charlie Kirk was unalive? Have you seen examples of how that's possible?
Yeah.
Exploding Mike?
Well, that I told you, that's probably the one I lean the most against on all the other theories. But the reality is something dragged that microphone across his chest in a very rapid rate of speed. Something dragged his necklace up over his shoulder at an incredibly high rate of speed, and that leads me to believe something else happened other than a gunshot to the neck. And what that is, I don't know.
What would
I got a
maybe I'm
question
missing
for
some other
you,
theories.
Bronson. Bronson, I got a question for you instead of interrogating Baron here.
He can interrogate
So
me. I'm
you
fine with it.
Interrogating.
okay, okay, cool. You mentioned palm gun. So the behavior of Rick Cutler in that moment of the Big Bang, how would you describe that?
Um,
Like, would you
I
describe it? I mean,
I
I'll give
believe
you
he was
some
just
examples.
adjusting
Some
his
people
sleeve.
might, right? So there's more than one thing that happened, though, right? He adjusted his sleeve. A Big Bang happened. He had no reaction to
I
it.
don't know if
Virtually
I
no.
agree with that. I feel like
He flinched.
he had a
He
pretty
flinched.
shocked reaction.
Yeah. I mean, I'll
You
agree he
think it
flinched.
was when I say no reaction, I mean what I meant to say is he didn't have a reaction that every other person in the crowd had, which was like shock and awe and like
Well, he was
um
part of the
it
security
was
detail, right? So he just rushed right to Charlie, I believe. So I feel like he had
yeah,
the
uh-huh.
reaction he's supposed to have in that scenario, I would think.
Okay, so that seemed completely normal to you for a
I don't
security,
know if
someone on
anything
security.
about that day was normal.
So
I feel like somebody
I mean,
publicly being shot like that
everything
is not
about the
normal.
right, but if you're seeing someone get shot, even on a security detail, which you may not, even on a security
I don't
detail, you
know. I
may
don't know
not
much
see
about like
anybody get shot.
I don't know Rick Cutler's history. I don't know if he was in military service at all. I don't know if he had any war tours. I don't know how much violence he's been around. You know what I mean? I don't know anything about him. So to try to judge his
That's fair. That's
response,
fair.
I don't know
So
that I'd be able to do that well.
for all you know, he could have been in the IDF based on your what you're saying.
Sure.
Okay. So do you think he smiled when he was over Charlie? Do you think that was he was smiling like some people
Mm,
report?
no.
Okay. So you think that was just the pictures of him, what people are saying are smiling. You think that's just he got caught at an awkward moment or
Yeah, I think it was just yeah. Yep. Because if you watch
okay.
that in normal speed, you would it would be more than one or two frames if he was smiling. I think it was just a weird little discrepancy.
Uh beg to differ on that. But what did you want to ask? What did you want to ask Baron?
Well, I did actually have another question for Baron. Um, I don't know. This may have already been talked about. I came into this space a little late, um, but there are some people in here, Baron, who have a tendency to talk some stuff about you when you're not around, and they don't seem to have the guts to ask you. So I will just ask you for them. There have been some insinuations made that you are potentially working with Candace Owens and working with TPUSA to distract away from real evidence. And their evidence or what they use to make this claim is the fact that Candace Owens seems to have been sitting on information that could exonerate Tyler Robinson. And she's doing a slow drip over a long period of time. And that has led some to believe that it's just a grift and that she's working with TPUSA and you are involved with her as well. So I would be
You're right.
curious as
It's
to
a
what your
good
take is on that.
That's a fair
Bronson, it's a
question.
good question. Yeah, it's a good question. He has addressed this on his show though. You should watch his
Yeah,
show.
I
You should
have.
tune in. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good show, Bronson.
Yeah, you should watch Bronson. Um, listen, I understand the frustration with the pace at which information is disclosed, but there are limits when you receive information from somebody. If they put a limit on what you can put out, let's say they give you 5 minutes of video and they say you can put out 2 seconds of it. These 2 seconds I'll allow you to put out. You've got to make a decision. Am I going to put out those 2 seconds and comply with that, or am I going to put out nothing and just let everybody continue to wander around in darkness? Maybe they tell you, I will give you information, but you have to tell me before I show it to you that you can never tell anyone you've received this information. You can't act on it, you can't reference it, you can't infer you've seen it. Do you want to see the information? I've always taken the approach in those situations, yes, I want to see the information. I want to I want to get everything I can get in my possession. And if you tell me I can only release 2 seconds of it and that's all I can reference, then that's what I'll do. I know there was a lot of heartburn over a picture I released of the truck because it was heavily redacted. Well, it was redacted at the request of the person who sent the picture. And it was redacted to hide the identity of the person taking the picture. And it was redacted to hide the location where the picture was taken. Um, Later, all those pictures come out anyway. So big deal. Everybody now knows everything about that picture. But at the time, that was in compliance. So I had to make an executive decision. Do I release a little bit? Do I release a little bit of the picture? Or do I release none of the picture? I think there's value in releasing a little bit because somebody may look at those blood smears, may look at the color differences on there, may look at the pattern and say, hey, wait a minute, I know exactly what this is. Here's what happened. And we get some more information. And that's, I think that's the genesis of the frustration is there are people whose jobs are at risk, whose liberty is at risk to get information out. And if they choose not to allow people to produce that information, then they can't they can't they won't be able to give information. And that's a decision everybody has to make for themselves. If you're going to put your liberty at risk, or you're going to put your job at risk to get information to Candace or me or anyone else, you know, you might put limitations on how that information can be used, but you believe in the mission and you would like to see that information be used responsibly to help further the investigation because you think the information adds value to the investigation. But it would be totally irresponsible of me to tell them, yeah. I'll redact it. No one will see a thing. And then I just drop it all out because I say, well, everybody deserves to see it. Well, everyone may deserve to see it, but I just put this guy's job at risk. And that's not fair of me. That's not right at all. And I lied to him because I told him I wouldn't do that. And so that's the situation people are running into is there's a lot of people that want to help, but all these people that want to help, think about where they're getting this information from. This information isn't just floating around on the internet. They didn't just do a Google search and find these pictures. They didn't do a Google search and find a video. They didn't do a Google search and find this stuff. They're working at places where this stuff is located. You know, they might be in the FBI. They might be in the military. They might be in, you know, wherever, and they don't want to go to prison. They don't want to lose their job. They might work at a private company, at a hospital, at a doctor's office, at a clinic, at an airport. They don't want to lose their job. That's how they support their family. And so you have to make a decision. Am I going to use this information to inform myself to further the investigation, even though I know I can't release it? Or do I just tell the person, you know what? I don't want to be tempted and I don't want to have to hold the information back. So I don't want to see it. I always make the decision, give me what you got. I'll comply with your limits. I might beg you over and over and over if I can release it. And then as I get permission, I'll release stuff. But I don't think there's anything immoral or wrong with that. And I certainly don't think it lends the inference that, oh, he must be working with TPUSA. I think that's kind of a stretch.
Good job, Bronson. You might have earned a little respect from me, buddy, asking the tough questions there. I asked a bunch as well. I do
So,
enjoy
but the
stuff
way
like that.
Bronson tried to sell everybody out was pretty Gary Milton. Took one out of Gary's playbook right there.
I didn't
Just
say any
saying.
names.
Oh no. Like I'll admit I'm one of those people. I get very
No,
frustrated
you
with
were
stuff
calling
that
us
they say.
cowards, and I
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I like the rage debate. I rage debate a lot. I mean, I
Well,
get
I
it.
mean, if we're going to drop names, I was actually referring to Blake since he's on mute and being all nice and stuff to Baron.
Baron, I will be the first one to admit I get frustrated with stuff not coming out. Like, but then I get, I have stuff shown to me, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I get frustrated too. I'm aware of a lot of stuff that I wish would come out. And it's frustrating to me
For
from where I
sure.
sit.
Oh, I
So
take accountability for everything that I've said. Just saying.
You're hold on. You're aware of stuff that you wish would come out. I- uh,
Absolutely.
Is it? Is there a scenario where that stuff that you're aware of that you wish? Is there a scenario where that can come out, or is that like a here's a thing you can never share this thing?
I think there's different classes. There are some things that are like, hey, I'll let you see this because it might inform you and let you know you either are or are not on the right path, but you can never, ever reference it. You can't refer to it. You can't tell anyone on earth you have it, but I'll let you look at it. And then there are people who say, here's this. I'll let you know when the time is right. Those are two different classes of sources. And yes, the answer to your question is yes. There's a lot of stuff I wish would just come out because it would shut a lot of people up.
Things that are exculpatory to Tyler.
Um, I don't even want to say that.
Can you give us a general idea?
No, this is my whole point. You're not allowed to talk about it.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask a follow-up
I know, and
question,
I'd be remiss.
Baron.
I'd be dishonest if I said any more. I probably. I mean, it's the nature. I mean, I guarantee you at the New York Post and at the New York Times and the Washington Post and ABC and NBC, they're also sitting on stuff they wish could come out. Not about this case necessarily, but about stories they're working on. But
But I
they were
mean,
given the information.
we've got someone's life on the line, right? And I mean, you yourself had also said recently, I think on the space with you and Diligent, that like, hey, if you've got something, like now is the time, put
Correct.
it
I agree
out.
with you. I agree with you. I agree with you.
So then,
Go back and rewind everything I just said to Bronson for the last 5 minutes. Because I mean, it just you can't burn people. You can't burn sources. You can't.
I mean, yeah, I've been a lifelong journalist, so I get that.
Right.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Okay.
But also, we've got someone's life on the line. And by no means am I like siding with Bronson or whatever right
No, no,
now.
no.
But I mean, I do
But
think
what
at
you're
the end of the day,
saying,
it's important.
no, what you're saying, Kelly, what you've just explained is that you're able to answer your own question. If you've been a lifelong journalist, just answer the question
I,
yourself. Somebody's life's on the line, hypothetically, and you're in control, and you have the source, and you have to give up your source. Would you do it or not?
I mean, look, I think sunlight is the greatest disinfectant.
So
But
you'd burn a source.
that it's not about burning a source. I don't know the information that Barron is referring to, so
No,
I
but you can
can't.
ask yourself hypothetically.
Sure.
Baron,
Yeah.
this is why I don't allow women in my space. No, I'm just kidding, Baron.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
I don't think
Wow. He's
Barron's
going
oh,
to be
Uncle
like
inclusive.
that.
He's
I've
That is
had
trying.
a
not
lot
the
of
note
women
you
in
want to.
here, and I've been nice
We've
to women
oh,
tonight too. I've been
you're generally
unbelievably
very
pleasant.
kind, but I'm a
Yeah, but you can
professional too.
ask yourself hypothetically, would
I
you
no,
burn
I
a
literally
source?
am, and I think there is definitely a balance that you have to work through, and it's dependent upon the situation and the
So he's balancing. You're
importance. I
witnessing him
whoa, you're
balancing.
talking over me, man.
I'm not trying to,
You
but you're
have to.
witnessing the balancing.
Right. And of course, as those of us who have literally worked, around the clock for pushing it almost a year, like we also have a vested interest in this too. So and it's an unselfish interest in the fact that like we want to make sure that justice is served. That's all. We're just asking questions and literally trying to work through some of these things that those of us who say maybe aren't privy to some of this information like need to kind of understand. It's an important
Well,
conversation.
and it's possible that by saying to people publicly, now is the time, this is urgent, it's encouraging people to say, fine, go ahead, use it. If I had information that somebody was in Tyler Robinson's cell block about to kill him, I would release that. I would burn that source in a second. That's not the type of information I'm talking about.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Uh, Matthew, you got dropped and then you came back and you were
Yeah,
inviting you were in the
unfortunately.
middle of inviting Baron to another space without inviting me, but that's cool.
Can you
Uh,
hear me?
yes, go ahead.
You can hear me great. Yeah, I received a phone call and it kicked me, unfortunately. It happens. Um, so, well, while I've been waiting, there's a couple of things I wanted to comment on. One was Harpole. I believe he was overacting. I believe he had an excessive delay, like his reaction was excessively delayed. I've studied it and watched it, and he didn't look natural. He didn't look naturally surprised. So to me, it just looked like he was acting out his part of a role. But he definitely, in my opinion, had a very delayed reaction. So I just wanted to make that comment when you were talking about Harpole earlier.
No, I was
The
talking
other thing
about.
is some
Oh
people
wait,
have missed.
I think I was talking about Cutler. I don't know if you're talking about. If it's the
No,
same.
Harpole came up, I think, when Bronson was
No,
speaking. Uh,
That was Cutler.
that was Cutler. And
Cutler,
by
oh,
the
Cutler
way,
had a
I'm gonna
delay.
want to get the
Yeah.
frame, how many frames he was smiling in, because I think Bronson's being extremely bad faith there. So we're gonna have to put that
Oh,
What do you
together.
mean,
no,
Tom?
Cutler.
You don't know?
No, I don't know how many
Cutler
frames it
was
was, but
fine.
I
You
did it.
brought it up and you didn't even know?
It's a minimum of like 3 frames minimum. I would say
No,
more.
it was more. You know, I believe the look in his face was like, it's like when you're shooting at a target and you wait till it hits the target, and that look on your face of satisfaction when you've hit your target. That's the way I viewed it. I'm not saying that he did it. I believe they're all decoy. Well, not all of them. Sorry, maybe not Harpole. Cutler maybe it was a decoy. They all seem to be doing things at exactly the same time. I think it was supposed to be a whole smoke and mirrors game so that none of us would know what the hell's going on. I believe that was an intentional game of smoke and mirrors. I mean, just like the amount of people wearing maroon shirts that day, you know, it's like that. Uh, I can't remember the name of the show now, but there was a show and there was like 5 people the same walking up and down different stairwells. You know, the guy in the suit with the bowler hat. Anyway, it doesn't matter if I think of the name of the movie later. But look, it's to put people off. So there's all those people in maroon shirts, so that there would be lots of Tylers there that day. There'd be lots of lots of decoys. All these people shooting guns, pulling triggers all at the same time. That was just one comment I wanted to make. The other thing is that some people sent me messages to remind me to suggest to you, Baron, whether you should point out to Candace that the stairwell photos are mirrored. I'm assuming you're aware of that, Baron, that the stairwell figures of purportedly Tyler going from the car park up or down those stairs. Are you aware that they're mirrored?
Yeah, I'm aware, and she is as well.
She is, okay. So
Yeah.
some people have said, make sure
Yeah.
Candace is aware of that because she didn't mention it when she
Yeah.
spoke about it last. And another thing is, and I sent you a message earlier. I tagged you in one. So when Grenda was speaking, Grenda is the one who's friends with Tyler's father's cousin. He believes that the connection with Tyler may have been through USU. So then that just made me think those two plainclothes police officers that were identified that were guarding the tent area and, in my view, seemed to be running the show are from USU. And Charlie was supposed to speak there in 3 weeks from then, and it was hinted by Candace, which I agree with, that was possibly the backup plan in case it rained that day or it couldn't go ahead that day or for whatever reason. So it makes me think that maybe we, as collectively, as a group of investigators, need to have a little look into USU maybe and try and put together any puzzle pieces with USU, because it seems like there could be some connections to be found there. So that's one point I wanted to make. And another point was whistleblowers. We need whistleblowers to come forward, but I think they're too scared. I honestly think they're in fear of their lives. And I know that, Baron, you've mentioned about Mikey on your show that he needs to go see a lawyer. Is that the best and or only advice you would offer to a whistleblower, or who would they go to? Because I think they'd be too scared to go to the police, the SBI, FBI, or any other form of law enforcement, considering they might feel that they're all involved somehow and they might not feel safe doing it or would feel like they're not going to be heard. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, if you believe it's a multi-agency cover-up and it goes to the top of all the agencies, who do you go to for immunity or safety or to blow the whistle? It's an obvious stymie, but that doesn't mean you can't go seek wise counsel from a trusted attorney and try to figure out if that attorney knows somebody. Maybe it's in another jurisdiction, maybe it's someone in DC that's got some sort of pull somewhere. But there's got to be some sort of um, a there's got to be somebody. It can't be everybody involved on the entire planet. Um,
Exactly. And I agree with you there, Baron. But I just think it might be helpful for you to even suggested on your show, considering the depth of your audience, that I do believe it's important to get some whistleblowers to come forward to help solve the case. I think it's integral. I think that's integral with any type of case, but especially this one. We need whistleblowers more than anything because we lack hard, solid evidence, and the whistleblowers are the ones that would have that. So yeah, I think maybe it's beneficial to reiterate that, hey, we want you to come forward. Please do this, or don't do that, or yes, you know what I mean. I think a little bit of advice by someone like yourself would carry a lot of weight, and it may help encourage someone to come forward. We only need a couple of important people to come forward, which might help kick the investigation in the direction it needs to go.
I agree. I think that's good advice.
Yeah, that were the main things that I wanted to say. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to me. Cheers.
6.
Hey, Uncle Tom, Kelly, thanks for having me on the space. I was just scrolling through actually a lot of specifically on our side, a lot of heavy hitters in here and some really good researchers and citizen journalists and so on. I'm sorry, I still have tears in my eyes. I'm laughing. That retard was trying to trip up a seasoned lawyer, getting him in a gotcha. I think he's hanging out in the echo chambers with Paramount testicles and that alcoholic wine mom I could see in the lower comments here.
Who,
I think
Who,
that echo
Mitch?
chambers really rotted their brain. First off, they think he was shot with the 306, so that in itself is laughable. But the new tactic is trying to catch even these seasoned pros in like a gotcha moment, because obviously Paramount Testicles can't even remember what he said when you owned him, Tom. What about 10 seconds earlier about the background check, and another bunch of laughable moments from those spaces. But for people who have a lock on this case, dead to rights, Tyler Robinson, they seem to be coming in here and trying to dissuade and persuade people with all these weird, fucking bizarre tactics. And it's almost laughable at this point, but it's also comical too at this point, right? Because they have them dead to rights, but they still take the time to come in here to organize their own spaces covertly and incognito in their own groups, trying to like pass along information that they think are these gotcha moments or these smoking guns, which is absolutely laughable. But for people who have someone dead to rights, have all these people on their side, right from the top of government all the way down to bad faith law enforcement, FBI clearly acting in bad faith. I even think the defense is acting in bad faith, but I digress there. It's absolutely laughable. But my question, back to the real world, my question for Barron is, for me personally, I think at the beginning, Candace was very emotional, though she was doing some very good work. I found that, and rightfully so, one of her best friends had been brutally murdered in a terrible fashion. And, no one really knew and still doesn't know who did it. But in any case, for me, the first thing that really moved the needle, things that went from the realm of circumstantial evidence into not circumstantial evidence, was your work with the Google search trends. And I think that was fantastic. And a lot of people have piggybacked off that work, specifically Anna Escobar. And what she found, I think, was heavily based on your initial work, because I'd never even thought to do that. I'd never even think to go to Google Trends to look at past history and what people were searching. Because, like I said, that goes beyond the realm of circumstantial evidence, because unless you're dealing with mind readers and psychics, that is beyond circumstantial evidence. I mean, what other reason would you have to be searching actors and players within this conspiracy? And let's face it, that's what it is, a conspiracy. And now, on top of that, what Anna Escobar and Stu Peters have uncovered with the Adelson planes and TPUSA, and all the searches, the Hebrew Google search trends in Nebraska once one of those Egyptian planes landed. I mean, to me, and then searching Tyler Robinson and his home address and Erica Kirk and Erica Franzvi and a bunch of other names that are escaping me currently. But like, I haven't even heard anyone from the retard side even touch upon that. But I can't wait to see how they're going to kind of just explain that one away. That's going to be laughable. So if you guys want a good comedy hour, just wait until they try to explain that when that becomes more mainstream. But I was wondering, are you
They
planning
just
on
dismiss it.
revisiting that? Because I haven't heard you talk about that in some time, especially with the new evidence uncovered, what Anna Escobar has uncovered. Are you planning on maybe revisiting that or reinvigorating that component or facet of the investigation?
So I still do a lot of Google Trend searches. I don't cover it as often, obviously, as I used to, but I still do it quite a bit. And I have looked at a lot of what Anna and Stu have covered. I think they've both done excellent work, particularly on the airplanes. Anna has a dogged determination and tenacity on the airplanes, which is remarkable. Um, the the problem with Google Trends is it exists, but you have to verify it by very time consuming means, and I don't have the time to do it like I did when I was pretty much covering Google Trends exclusively, because then I would be locked into all of my prep just being Google Trends again. Because before I would go forward with a Google Trend search, I would look at, a date parameter that I was interested in. And then I would enlarge that date parameter. And then I would narrow that date parameter. And then I would hold that date parameter and I would do it over several years. And then I would do it over several years in different jurisdictions. So it's not just one Google search over one date parameter in 1 year. I would end up doing it, at least 9 different times, but sometimes 12, 15, 20, 30 times on a particular name. So if you take Andrew Colvette's name, I'm not accusing him of anything, Andrew, if you're listening. But just say you took a name of one of the players and you went and you searched his name and you said, aha, here we go, June 13th. That's right in our honey hole here. Well, I would want to know, does that June 13th hold if we broaden the months that we're looking in 2025? Does it hold if we narrow the months? Do any other little pips pop up? Now, if we hold those parameters and we look at 24, 23, 22, 20, is it absent in all of those? Because that gives you an indication something's going on in 2025 that's different from other eras. Now let's look in Arizona, but let's also look in New York. Let's look in Texas. Let's look in Tennessee. Let's look in Ohio. Let's look at some other decently populated states. Does he pop up in any of those? Well, no. Okay, now we're on to something. We've got an isolated date. We've got an isolated geography. But let's go outside the United States. Is he in England? Is he in Australia? Is he in New Zealand? Some of these English speaking countries around the world. Let's go look there. Now let's look in non-English speaking countries. Does he show up in Germany, Spain, France, Italy, Israel, Egypt? Well, so now I got to do all those date parameters in all those different countries, and it's time consuming. It's just very time consuming to get to where I'm comfortable reporting something. When I went back and did all those Google Trend searches, if you watch my early shows, that's the methodology I used before I reported. I came up with a lot of really interesting, cool hits, but they were consistent across years and they would disappear when I would enlarge or shorten the time domain. And so to me, it was indistinguishable from noise. It wasn't a signal as much as it was noise. So I didn't report those names. I didn't report those addresses. I didn't report those searches. The ones I reported were the ones that, like the doctors at Timpanogos, those were just hard. Those were really solid and those were very limited, and I could not reproduce those in any other time domain, any other location. And so I felt very comfortable reporting that. And I have not had the opportunity to do that with Honest Stuff. So while I watch it as a fan, like all you guys do, because her presentation's great, her information's great, it's fun to watch. I can't I can't do what I have to do in order to confirm or report it. I can say, here, this is some cool stuff she's doing. You guys ought to check into this. I guess I could do that. But I watch a lot of cool stuff that people should check into. I can't turn my show into a highlight reel of everything everyone else is covering.
Thank you, Baron. No, yeah, absolutely, I agree, and that was some amazing insight. I just, for me, like I said, that was the thing that really moved the needle for me. That, and obviously Mitch Snow, as he was in one of the spaces, the real Mitch, not Mitch the bitch there, but the real man Mitch. And I had a chance to talk to him afterward, and he said, I told him, I said, there was a lot of circumstantial evidence that they were laughing away, but I told him, like, specifically your Google search trends, and then when he surfaced that, like, there's a lot of snipers, I told him, so to speak, but he's the one who got them to kind of evil to rear its head, because after that you just saw how, like, the earthquake and the after effect of the earthquake once he came on. And that's obviously how I kind of measure the metrics as to who's on the right track, is when they kind of laugh it away versus when they get all the attack dogs out, like all the facets of government, all these little fucking chihuahuas in that group there with paramount testicles. And you could see when they go on that attack, that's when I feel the investigation is getting warmer and into hot territory. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. It's an honor to speak to you, man.
Yeah, I don't know if
Right.
you saw Jen, the producer, locked her account. She got into it with me the other day, and Sunday. She ended up having to lock her account. She tagged all the domestic violence accounts on the domestic violence awareness accounts on this app and tried to report me for my satire in a space. And she said how she I was a monster and all this stuff. And yeah, it was a whole thing. And so I
You
just
told her to make you a smoothie.
um so now she finally, I think today, unlocked her account, and now she just got me blocked. But yeah, she was definitely going down that victim road. But monitoring the situation here, it appears that Talmud Tatum, there's a little bit of infighting happening. So I'll play this. I'll try to play it. Oh, I'm pulling a Baron. I'm pulling a Baron. Hold on.
Now, I guess there's a
Bubba,
debate going on
Bubba.
this
Hold,
Friday.
please.
Candace and Andrew Wilson, I think his name is. He gave her $300,000 to debate her. What world are we living in that a human being can be so stupid to think that if this person is wrong, I'm going to pay you $300,000 to argue with you on your platform? It's going to have 300,000 people watching where you're going to make all the money. You're going to make $400,000 just for me to argue with you. You can't be that stupid. I wouldn't pay anybody money to debate me. What am I going to pay you to debate me for? We can debate for free. You already going to get the revenue for the debate being on your channel. Why would I pay you money?
So apparently, yeah, that's it. That's what he came. I called Andrew stupid. So
Well, I think
yeah,
that's the question, though, is that some people have regarding the money, and maybe that's where the folks that were DMing me earlier were trying to understand, like, if that was, if someone wins, they get the 300,000. Can you guys
I
explain
mean,
the
I mean, I
money?
think
Like, is
there's.
she
I mean,
getting
I
it either
think it.
way?
I think it's an
Oh,
interesting topic, but that's not what he was doing. He just gives Uncle Tom's a bad name. He's just jealous another black woman's making all this money, and it's kind of disappointing.
I don't know why
But
I don't know
Kelly,
why he's mad anyway. Doesn't he make money off of her merch? Doesn't he do her merch for her?
oh, I haven't heard that. Why he
he does.
no? Oh, he does.
He does. Hey, Kelly. So the money's already been paid. He wired her $300,000. That money is hers no matter what. That's basically he's paying to appear on her podcast for an interview. That's
Wow.
that's essentially what's happening.
That's a heck of advertising. I guess that must, maybe that's coming via TV USA. Who knows?
Well,
Interesting.
I like that it's paying their her lawyer fees for the Macrones and for the Harpole case. I mean, it's taking care of all that. I don't know why they'd be interested in paying her attorney fees, but
Hey, Tom,
yep.
Blackline wants up if you can shoot him an
Oh, yeah,
invite.
of course. So but that's interesting about the merch thing. So I didn't I wouldn't have guessed that they like each other. I mean, maybe they have a deal that they have a contract for some years, I guess. Or you probably can't speak on
Yes,
it,
they have a
but
I
contract.
can't speak because I don't know. I just know that's pretty common knowledge. I mean, that's not inside information. That's been known.
Yeah, no, they have a contract. Tatum has talked about it because he got caught a lot of heat for it. I don't remember some months back.
I see. Okay, okay. But they couldn't have obviously foreseen the whole obviously this happening to Kirk. So I think she's probably regretting it right about now because he's obviously parroting the free video thing and
Well, I
doing
believe
that.
they're pretty close. I think they like consider each other family.
See, I don't see how does that work? That's weird.
No, it's
Well,
yeah.
they've been close a long time. I will say I'm going to drop in about 10 minutes. So I
Yeah.
don't want to just drop out of nowhere.
I'll say as
Oh yeah,
recent
appreciate that. Whenever you want.
as recently as at the hearing post Friday's hearing on let's see July 10th, when I recorded like the full statement from Tatum and posted it, there was a question about Candace, maybe two questions about Candace, and he did not speak ill of her. He was very careful. He had an opportunity to go in, but he didn't.
He did today on his show.
So that's weird. I wonder if that's
So
only because it's his kind of controlled platform and his people versus, being potentially on, national news to like reach a larger audience, local, national, etc. I don't know.
he said he spoke to her and that he told her that she should not, like, he's smarter than Candace, right? Like freaking Brandon is smarter than Candace. He said on his show today, and he played clips of her show and then like called her out, but he said that he talked to her and told her to not trust everyone that sends her stuff from the public. And then he played the clip of her showing the guy inside of the parking garage, and then he compared that to the enhanced 4K video that none of us saw and said that this isn't that video. He's conflating like different videos. First of all, like it was so botchy what he tried to do. They're two totally separate videos, but then he goes that she was totally misled and whoever sent that to her totally like hoodwinked her, and that she should not, you know, believe everything everyone sends to her. That was it, though. He didn't say that he addressed other things like his community asked him to address to Candace. Why does she call out Erica and other things? Nope. He just said today that he told Candace to not to trust everyone who sends her stuff.
Okay, so then in that case, he's not attacking Candace. It's like it's all. I mean, to me, it feels very WWE theatrics, where it's like I'm gonna say something that sounds like I'm coming at them, but really, like I'm talking about the other people. I'm not discrediting her. So
Right. I mean,
I
he
don't know.
definitely was calling out her intelligence. Sorry, Baron. Go
y-
ahead.
y-
No, it was me, and someone's gonna at some point later they're gonna have to demystify that for me because I don't get it. He's clearly a Fed slopper. Even maybe even part of that. I'm just kind of alleging here. I don't know. The K Interactive, that whole um, media initiative or whatever, Project Esther. So it kind of bugs me. It's gonna bother me now that to find out they're friends and they just haven't picked up the phone and she hasn't just picked up the phone and yelled at him, say, "Hey, like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you saying like, you know,
You want to know what's
this
fun?
video?"
So
Yeah,
his community back during the preliminary hearing sent in questions, and he was reading them live. And his community was like, "Why haven't you called out Candace?" And he goes, "Well, even though he has her number, he goes, well, one of you should clip this and send it to her." I'm not kidding. Instead of him just calling
yeah.
her.
So I guess I wouldn't make it 2 days in the big leagues because um I don't know. I can't. I can't. I don't work well with others. I guess.
You always swinging for the fences, Tom.
I
Am,
guess.
am I on now?
yes, we hear
Oh,
ya.
Yes.
okay. Hi. I'm sitting here in Southern California in Huntington Beach, Surf City, and I love all you guys. I follow Baron Coach and, of course, Candace. But my question to all of you is, somebody who looks at the macro of this whole situation, meaning I can count two people on my hand who know about this whole situation, who really get into the nitty gritty. What do you all think about this? Is going to go to trial, it seems like. Is this going to be like an OJ situation? Are people going to be glued to their phones and everything? Or after everything, we're just going to go on with our lives, which is a sad thing because let me preface this. I spent months, Saturdays at the pier in Huntington Beach, and you probably see it on YouTube or wherever. We rallied for Trump 2020. We did Stop the Steal, Baron, for many, many weeks. We did against the Gavin Newsom. Um, we actually stopped Antifa for destroying our downtown. We did anti-curfew. I mean, we were everything. But something I realized today, listening to everybody, is that after Charlie's assassination, poof, it just went. I think, at least in my community, like locally, it just, there's no rallying against anything or for anything. We had been hoodwinked, like Coach Colin said and says. I love him. What do you think will be the reaction from the quote unquote normal people or the common man?
I think what you're describing is the death of the populist movement, because all the movements you talked about were exactly that. They were the populist movements. Stop the Steal, um, the anti-COVID mandates, all of it. It's just Trump 2016, Trump 2020. Those were all populist movements. And about the time Charlie died, the mainstream has decided we are no longer tolerating populist movements. We're going to be done with them. And we're no longer trying to co-opt them. We're going to shame them. We're going to demonize them. We're going to come after them. We're going to, I think you'll probably eventually see some sort of purge like you saw going into 2020. And that's what I think. That's how I interpret what you're describing is the death of the populist infrastructure. It's being co-opted, and it's being silenced.
Do you see a connection that Charlie was part of all those populist movements?
I think Charlie gave air to the populist movements. Charlie was not a populist. He may have started out that way, but by 2018, 2019, he no longer was. He, but I think he would give air to them. Like he would show up on college campuses and talk to them. He would debate them. He would invite populists to speak at his events. Right? He'd have Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith and people that the mainstream uniparty despise, and he would have them on stage and he would let them give speeches and he would let them debate and he would let them be part of his organization. And that's ultimately what got him killed, I think.
2000
Which is
His refusal to give that
and
up.
in two,
which is ironic, Baron, because everybody says, you know, I don't agree with everything that Charlie says. I really didn't know Charlie that much, honestly. I was, I knew him, saw Rumble, whatever, because he followed the Bannon and all that, which I don't watch anymore because another hoodwinked, but whatever. And but I was sitting here on Twitter and his name came up, and when it happened, everything just stopped for me. So he had a connection with the common person for some reason. And it seemed like for me that I don't know. I don't know if, as a Catholic, I don't know if it was something that said, all right, it's time. It's time to wake up, America. I've lived in 6 countries on 4 continents, went to Russia in the 80s and everything, and I always was pro America, 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 America. And I swear, I still have my t shirts of Trump, my hats, and everything, and I leave them there because I believe. I believed and I believe. But one of these days, I'm like, am I going to burn them? Am I going to go throw them away? But no, that's not the thing. The thing is today. Today, what are we going to do?
Hey,
All of you
Pax.
guys,
We're Baron's got to leave
oh,
soon,
I'm
and
sorry.
this is
I'm sorry.
no, you don't have to apologize. He'll be back, and we can have these conversations. But I told you guys this is gonna bother me, so I had to ask this hypothetical before he goes. And that is, if you were friends, a longtime friends with a Fed slopper, and all this was happening, uh, i.e. Tatum and Candace, what would you do if you were in Candace's position?
So my advice to people is always don't lose friends and family over political arguments. And I understand why Tatum is slow to criticize her, and I understand why she's slow to criticize him. You know, they were friends before Charlie Kirk died. And the mature thing to do, it's what I was saying earlier, is let's just discuss, why are we attacking? Why the um why do people make it their identity to continually attack Candace Owens? How is that your identity? You wake up in the morning, you think, all right, I'm going to put out 73 tweets today about Candace Owens. I mean, that's just absolutely ludicrous. And if I was friends with a Fed slopper, and I am friends with some Fed sloppers, you just
No, no,
talk
but
about other
he's
stuff.
more
You
of a public figure, and is actively derailing an investigation. That's what I mean. That's the better hypothetical. That's what I mean. Somebody that's actively derailing an investigation.
Well, I mean, I think you can he could call her out and be friendly. He could say, "Look, Candace and I are friends. I fundamentally disagree with her on this issue. I think she should stop." Okay. Um, she could say, "Brandon and I are friends. I fundamentally disagree with him on this issue. I think he should be asking harder questions. He has access to these people. He needs to get answers to these questions." But I don't think that it's wise to turn on each other. I say this a lot. Like, you've got more in common with your neighbor down the street than you do Donald Trump, than you do Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom or whoever they're going to put up on the left. I mean, my kids go to the same schools. We go to the same church. We go to the same Publix to get the same gallons of milk next to each other. Like, we have a lot in common. Our kids play on the same playgrounds. They play on the same ball teams. Like, I have no connection whatsoever to a president of the United States or somebody who's some kind of globalist corporatist elitist, some billionaire who runs a business. So why am I going to do their bidding? Why am I going to turn against my neighbor over that? And I see it a lot on X. I mean, it's particularly the people who hide behind these anonymous accounts while just doing nothing but attacking. I don't understand that mindset. I mean, we're the 99%. They're the 1%. Why are we fighting each other? There are more of us than them. And that's why at heart I am a populist. I will never walk away from that. I like my favorite presidents are the populist, Andrew Jackson, Teddy Roosevelt. Like, those are my guys. That's who I ride with. John Kennedy. These are the people who identified with the little guy. And you can identify with the little guy and be rich. Teddy Roosevelt was rich. Tucker Carlson's rich, but they identify with the little guy. Like, they make that their mission. We are on the side of the little guy against the powerful. And right now, what we see on the Charlie Kirk case is all the little guys are fighting each other, and all the rich people are stacking billions of dollars, and getting richer. And ultimately, they don't care whether we get resolution on this issue. The longer we're fighting, the better off they are. And that's the way it is on all the issues. That's the way the Uniparty does everything. They'll let Democrats and Republicans put on different jerseys, and they'll let you fight over a few things that are never going to change, as long as they can continue to exploit you. And as long as they can continue to get richer and richer while your standard of living goes lower and lower because they're printing money and fighting wars we can't afford. And that's what drives me every single day. That's what your friend that was just talking a second ago, that's what she's experiencing. People are, they've stopped giving air to the populace. It's not because Charlie died that all those things stopped happening. Those things stopped happening at the time Charlie died, because Charlie had to die in order to stop giving air to populism. And it's the right, it's the left, they don't care. They don't want anybody who's not in that middle that's willing to support them at all costs. And I don't understand somebody who will wake up in the morning and make it their life's mission to support somebody with every bit of their credibility, every bit of their energy, who despises them and who would step on their neck in a second to make $5 more. I'll never understand that.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you said. Obviously, it's well said. I don't think anybody would disagree. I think where your logic may be a little bit flawed and you may not be able to hash through it with me, you might even have to think about it as far as like hashing through it right now. But what I will tell you and what I've learned from COVID, and the reason why there was such a divide wasn't just a political divide, it was one side saying, hey, you're putting my life, my kid's life at risk by not getting vaccinated. And the other side is saying, hey, you're putting my kid's life at risk because you want me to shut my business down. And so that's a real divide that's, I would argue, is like irreparable when you're talking about kids' lives. And I think that, no, I don't want you to and it matters because you said, well, you should be friends with your neighbor. Well, it matters because let's say you have a godchild and or you pick a godparent for your child and you have to be deployed in the military for 6 months, whatever the circumstances is, you have to give your child to someone else. Well, you want to know that this your child is not going to be, when you get back, like pumped up with vaccines or get transed, or so I think, and I think with Kirk it matters as well because it's obviously a big deal. You know the gravity more than anyone else, and so it's hard to be friends with people that seem to be part of actively destroying the country. um and so I'll just land there, and because I felt that way for a long time.
Baron, if you have a quick second, I know Target U has had her hand up for like 20
I know,
minutes.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't want to keep him. I don't want to keep him, but
No, but
Well,
she's
let me do this.
been.
Tom, first, I'll say my goodbye now, and then I'll entertain a question. I appreciate your thoughts. Those were good thoughts. I, I don't disagree with them. These are tough issues, but Charlie Kirk is not the death of your children. And so I think perhaps there are some issues graver than others where you might need to reconsider those relationships. But this is not one of them. But let's go ahead to her, and then I got to jump off.
yeah, thank you for taking her too, by the way. Target, you're up.
Hi, thanks, Uncle Tom. I appreciate it. And I'm such a huge fan of you, Baron. And I have to do a shout out for attorney Paige Fox. She's a huge fan. And I don't know if you've seen her um, post about you. And she said, if you get on there, let her know that I think he's wonderful. So I had to do that. And so my thing is, I'm a whistleblower of this network. I've been investigating this stuff for 3 years into the military, the deep military black ops that I was actually attacked by, and I won't go into that. But one of the things that I really have tried to send you through emails and Candace through emails, and I've actually been on Spaces talking about it before, but have really never gotten any feedback or any type of good or bad. So I'd love to get that from you. But one of the things that stood out to me most is the material that was found on the floorboard of the SUV. It stood out to me because I have actually seen this before, and they were to use it in an explosive. And that's a whole another story in itself. But what I my opinion is on this, and I really wish somebody would really look into it, is it is called a foam board with aluminum backing, and it's used for directional shape charge. It helps with the energy of it, so it can control the direction of the charge. And it also it basically absorbs the energy for the for failure mechanisms and migration effectiveness. And I really want you to look into it, because when I dug into it, the when I tried to do the before and after, what it looks like after, it just you is being used or had been being used, it looks exactly like it. So that's one of the biggest things that I wanted to bring to your attention. And I don't know if you've ever gotten anything from me, and I would love to see if you have, because this is pretty serious. If I am on the right track, which I truly believe I am, because of the way it looks and because of my digging into AI, it actually says yes, this is this is what it would look like. So that's one of the biggest things, and I would love to get together with you and share who my connections are that connects. They all connect. So, and you were talking about going to people that for if you are a whistleblower, where can you go? Because literally for 3 years I have been digging and stretching myself to try to find people that are not involved. Basically, I mean, I've been to congressmen's. I've been to I mean, I've been everywhere trying to, given affidavits. I've done a lot to try to get, some of these people looked into, and to no avail. So my name is Sherry, by the way.
Well, Sherry, I've not looked into that at all, and I don't recall seeing anything on that. So maybe email it again, and I'll look for it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have sent it
Yeah,
several times because I just haven't heard anything back, and I really would love someone that knows that have a little bit of technical background to look into it, because I do 100% think that's what it is.
yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Tom. You run a tight ship. I appreciate it. I didn't even intend to jump on here. Someone tagged me on X with eyeballs, and then said you should jump in this space. So here I am, and it's been now what 5 hours. So
Oh
I've
man,
enjoyed it.
good,
Thank
Thank you,
you,
good.
Thanks,
Baron.
Baron.
Appreciate
Baron.
you coming on.
It's
All right,
Well,
guys.
addictive,
now we
man.
know.
Once you figure it out, it's addictive.
Well, now
I
we
don't need
know,
another addiction.
Baron. That's your Batman call. That's your Batman signal now. A signal.
Yeah. If
The
if
eyes.
if I get eyes, I'll jump on the space. How about that? All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right,
Appreciate
bye.
you.
Thanks,
Let's
Baron.
go.
Appreciate you.
All
Thanks.
right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.